Topic 2, how patterns of excluding the common, wild, and complex are barriers to both ecological and equity work in urban spaces, and ways to weave the work around these topics together so that their efforts will support rather than conflict with each other. In the discussion section of last month's session, the topic of anti-abundance and the focus on and valuing of what is rare came up. This is actually built right into language. Many families of plants include species with the descriptor vulgaris, which is Latin for common, as part of the plant's botanical name. The original meaning of the word vulgar is that which is in ordinary use or used by the people. Over time, it has come to mean lacking in cultivation, perception, or taste, morally crude, undeveloped, offensive in language, profanely indecent. Those who are abundant and have not been cultivated are vulgar. Not that long ago, the word exclusive was popular in advertising of new housing and condo builds. Technically, this meant that the places being advertised were only available through whatever business was advertising them, but the implication was that common people wouldn't be in your neighborhood if you purchased here. Only the cultivated will be in your new space. The idea of that which is not cultivated is vulgar and doesn't belong in nice places, paired with a romanticized idea of wilderness, reinforces the narrative that there's a separation between nature or wilderness and civilized humans. This shows up in urban spaces as justification of the removal of anything or anyone perceived to be uncultivated by those who currently hold land or by those they hire to remove the unwanted, whether that is security guards and police or gardeners and landscape maintenance crews. Outside of urban and suburban spaces, the fiction that humans and nature are separate has created the story that for the rest of nature to be able to survive, humans need to be kept away, that our only role is one of destruction or exploitation. This is a really troubling narrative for quite a few reasons. The first being that it's demonstrably incorrect. Indigenous societies have millennia of experience working with landscapes in ways that increase rather than decrease biodiversity. Assigning harms caused by cultural practices to humans as a species is strongly rejected by many people. It's also a narrative that's often used to absolve many of us from the responsibility of changing our actions and thinking in ways to live that would support rather than threaten the continuation of diverse life. It's just human nature. It's not. Protecting nature is also used as a justification to remove people who've already been pushed to the margins completely from sight. Protecting green spaces or fragile ecosystems is cited as a justification for the removal of anyone who doesn't or can't participate in the investment market-driven housing economy or participate in the fiscal economy as a whole. Removing camps from urban parks and Indigenous people from parklands and preserves with the thin justification of protecting ecosystems is an established societal pattern, removing people from the land and the land from the care or stewardship of the people. The possibilities of caretakers living in parks or even of direct community engagement with those green spaces that allows humans to care for and be cared for by our plant neighbors aren't even discussed in most circles. Too scary or radical? I don't think so. So letting go of hierarchical control and the right to dictate who or what is allowed in a space and to shift to centering actions and choices on what will support the continuation and flourishing of life is needed for both ecological and community resilience. Intentionally working on becoming more comfortable and engaged with spontaneous complexity in garden spaces can help us to become more comfortable and engaged with the complexity of diverse community and culture. You may be surprised by who drops by for a visit and helps you in your work. The native plants pictured here they all showed up without human assistance in my urban garden in the middle of Ottawa. And because I got to know them before pulling them out, they stayed. And the pollinators are very happy with them. When life returns to a place or new life joins, rather than defaulting to that doesn't belong here, start with that question. Who is this being and how can they integrate into and support the health of the space? What do they need to be well themselves? Shifting the language from reconnecting humans with nature to reconnecting humans with the rest of nature. Include human diversity in conversations around biodiversity, and include biodiversity in conversations around human diversity. Include age, gender, and cultural diversity in the conversation as well. In any narrative that does not separate humans as a species from the rest of nature, the cultivation of complex diversity is equally critical in social and ecological spaces. Every life has needs and brings gifts to share.